Hi. So, I have what some would call an unusual story. I woke up one day noticing that something had changed, and I was right. 15,000 volts went through my body one night, and I woke up a month and a half later. The doctors explained to me what happened. They said to me all those horrible things. You've been amputated, you've been burned on half of your body, you had heart failures, just get used to have it tough. I was like, okay. I knew that getting back on my feet and getting back to life would be a challenge. So I decided to try and put a method together so that people facing the same type of challenge, or any challenge for that matter, could use it, maybe to have it easier than I did. I had excruciating pains, and they were trying all sorts of medicine, not working. And one day, they decided to ask me if I wanted to try hypnosis. My first reaction was, seriously? You give me all those medicine, don't work, but talking to me nicely and slowly will? So I was a little skeptical, but I quickly understood that it would be my last shot, so I decided to accept and to see what happens next. The therapist came and she explained to me what it would be all about, and that's when I noticed that I used to do the same thing for a long time from the beginning, to evade, but not with the exact same end game. So at each session I paid attention to every single detail, so I could practice on my own. Because I wanted to practice and because I didn't really like the therapist that much. So I decided to continue on my own, and I found out that with hypnosis and just little mind tricks, you can achieve any goal. The craziest, the better, because you'll get there eventually. I said that I would go back to university, I would go back to life, I would be autonomous, I would be able to live the life I always wanted. And I think I'm getting close, more or less. It's a way, step by step. That's what they always said to me. Be patient, But I'm getting there. But first, what is hypnosis? Well, you might know that our brains are emitting waves. And when you're awake, the pace is fast. When you're asleep, the pace is slow. Well, the state you're in under hypnosis, which is called modified consciousness, is somewhere in the middle. And I'm sure you've all experienced it. When you're awake, but not really, you don't really know what's real or not, but you're there somehow. Well, using techniques of hypnosis in a slightly different way, I noticed that waking up early could be easier. Because easy would be too much. I used to be the worst at waking up. I used to put my phone on the other side of the room, so I would have to get up to turn it off. I even downloaded an app where I took a picture of my fridge, and I had to take the exact same picture the next day, so the alarm stopped. So I was really bad. And then I noticed that if I took a look at the watch before going to bed, and you can all do this when you go home tonight, you watch the time, and when you're starting to fall asleep, you see that watch. And you start to make the watch hand move towards the time you want to wake up. Let's say 6, for example. And while picturing that, you sort of see yourself in the future at that time, at 6, and you see and feel yourself waking up. You know that you can trust the fact that you will be awake on time. Still set your alarm clock, you never know. But normally, 10 minutes before or after, you'll be awake completely, depending if it worked. But hypnosis also is good for creativity. I used to be a lot creative, but now I need to be really creative because I had to find solutions for a lot of things in my life. And They always said to me that hypnosis was a good state for creativity. So I started to do research and to try, and I found a research of Robert Monroe, an author that studies human consciousness, and he saw that the pace of the waves you're in when you're under hypnosis is a state where both of your brain hemispheres are active in the same time. And that is the case in no other situation. It's only for that moment. So I started to look further, and I noticed that Salvador Dali, the famous painter, used to have his best idea while taking a nap. Only problem, forgot his ideas when falling asleep. So he decided to put on a method, and he used to take his nap with a spoon between his thumb and his index on top of a porcelain plate, so that when he would slowly fall asleep, he would get his ideas. And when he would fall asleep deeply, he would let the spoon fall on the plate, it would wake him up, he would write down the idea, and go back at it. True. I also found out that they say that full consciousness, a new concept that is trendy right now, is also good for creativity. And I'm going to just prove that to you with a simple example. When you have an idea, it pops into your mind. Then there is a little time where you don't think about anything, and it matures in your head. And then you come to conclusions and you know what to do in order to get closer to reach that objective or to put that idea in motion. And in a world where we're always stimulated by phones, by publicities, all sorts of things, when do you have that time to mature? To just not think about anything and wait? Well, you can do that with hypnosis or full consciousness, which is kind of the same. You can reach the same state doing full consciousness. So now, in the day, you can wake up easily, kind of. You have more ideas, but you need a way to plan for them to get real, because that's a big thing. It's really important. You have one idea, you write it down, and you need a plan, like it was said before, a schedule. And what I noticed was I had huge ideas, huge expectations. I wanted to build all sorts of things, but I didn't know what I could do now in order to get closer to that. And one day my sister showed me a way to plan for physical training. And I used it now for pretty much everything in my life, and it's really simple, and it's good. You draw a circle and you put that objective in it. You draw 3 arrows to 3 new circles where you can put what you need in order to go closer to that idea. For example, since we're in St. Gallen, building your own company. What would you need? Well, creativity, maybe free time, or rigor. And from those 3 words, you draw again an arrow, and you write 3 things you can do now in order to have more free time, rigor, creativity. And that gives you a list of 9 things you can do right now from the moment you finish the list in order to get closer to the objective. And it seems less big. It seems like you move towards the objectives. And it's motivating, and you need that, because it's always a long way. And I call it the 9 technique because you have 9 things, but also, for my sister, again, a public display of affection, because I used to call her Neen instead of Lynn when I was a baby, so it fits. So now I have more ideas, I can plan for them to get real, and I can wake up early so that I can work in advance and move towards. But what I need to change is how I see failure. Because failure is seen over here in Europe really badly. It's negative. I failed millions of times. When I was learning to walk again, if I told you the number of times I fell, I even started walking again for a month. I fell and I broke my hip again, and I was back in a wheelchair. So I know what it is, failure. But the thing is, if you look at it in a different way, like Thomas Young, a physicist, noticed that when he did experiments on photons, he noticed that everything changes by the simple fact of being observed. So I decided to observe failure. And I noticed that failing is getting one step closer to success. Because let's just say I had 1 out of 1,000,000 chance to do United States West Coast by bike, which I did this summer. Every time I failed in the organization, in getting the equipment ready, the way to go there, and all the details, I was actually getting one chance more to succeed. Because I had 999,999 ways to fail. I failed once, so now I had 999,998 ways to fail. So one less. So it's a step closer to success. I know, it's a long shot, but still. And I went to Silicon Valley when I finished the West Coast by bike, and I met with some of the people who participated in the creation of the biggest companies that were created there. Like Facebook, I went to Mozilla Firefox, I went to Salesforce, and there is a saying over there, and they really got it. It's try fast, so you fail fast, you learn fast, and reiterate better. You do it better the second time, and better the third time, and then you will get it. And sometimes only one failure is needed. Believe me, I was walking around with a journalist, the first article written about me, and I didn't tie my pants right. So I was in the middle of the hospital, facing 2 journalists, and my pants fell on my feet. Only one failure. Never went out with my pants untied again. Never. So you see, sometimes it's quicker than others. So now you can plan for your ideas. You're not afraid to try because you're not afraid to fail. Because it's not that big of a deal. You can wake up so you can be a little ahead of everybody. Because I wake up at 5 in the morning to go to the gym. I have a little obsession over sport, but that's something else. And that feeling you have when you're a step ahead of the whole world. You go to classes at 8, and you see people like, you just get out of bed. Yeah. And you know that you had 3 hours. You had all sorts of things done that he just hadn't the time. And I think that when I mean everyone can be a genius, is that everyone can be a genius at achieving goals. Geniuses applies those type of techniques to one unique field. But if you apply that to life, you become a genius in life living, and it could be good. And the last thing I want to add is that we're living in a world that is tough, in a society that cultivates envy or frustration in order to stimulate consumerism, because you need to consume. And I think that when you see around you, in addition, like in Paris 2 weeks ago, all those events that are starting to pop everywhere, you see that we need new ideas. We need new systems to be put in place. And I think that if everyone noticed, acknowledged the potential that resides in each of us, and used those little mind tricks just to be able to put it out there, wonderful ideas would be brought to life. And we would move to a better world. And I'm sure of that. Because I'm not here to brag about myself, I'm here to brag about you. Because I'm not special. I think that what I did, everyone can do. And that's the idea I want to share with you. And I think it's worth spreading, because we're all geniuses. The thing is to find it and to let it go out. So I want to thank you all, because if I hadn't done what I'm presenting you today, I wouldn't be here. But if you weren't there, I wouldn't be here either. And I want to thank also, well, the friends that followed me and my family especially, because I have to admit that at the beginning, if it wasn't for them, I don't know what I would do. I would have done, sorry. So I want to thank all of you and my family up there and my friend up there to be here today. And if you don't remember a thing of what I said today, if you don't believe in what I'm saying, please remember just this. No matter how life can get tough, how much it can get tough, she'll never be tougher than you. And if you believe, you achieve. Thank you.